Hello and welcome back to Viewpoint. The gaming sector contributes to approximately 30% of the ROC's GDP, with 3,400 jobs amounting to roughly 50% of total corporate tax receipts and 15% of personal tax receipts for the last year. It's a big deal. With around 75% of UK online sports and betting business involving companies registered in Gibraltar, it's no wonder then that concerns have been raised about the potential impact of a tax hike in the industry. UK gaming companies have threatened widespread closures if the Chancellor goes ahead with tax increases at next month's budget, a move that is viewed by the industry as potentially catastrophic. With this in mind, the Minister for Financial Services, Nigel Feetham, has been lobbying on Gibraltar's behalf, just as the new gambling bill is set to be presented before our Parliament. The gaming breakfast at London's Mount Street restaurant was therefore a chance to bring together key players as Gibraltar looks ahead to the future under a new treaty. GBC wasn't there, but we can bring you this footage. Apologies if it's a little shaky at times, but given the important subject, it's well worth listening to.
This breakfast is a chance to celebrate the deep and long-standing ties between Gibraltar and the UK and to reflect on the shared values that make this relationship so successful. Gibraltar has earned its reputation as one of the leading jurisdictions for regulated gaming. It combines a robust, trusted regulatory framework with a forward-looking approach that encourages innovation and investment. As Gibraltar prepares to implement its new Gambling Act, this gathering this morning could not be more timely. It also comes ahead of the forthcoming UK budget, a moment that will be critical for our industry's future. At the Betting and Gaming Council, we are proud to represent 90% of the regulated sector, from high street bookmakers and casinos to online operators. Across our membership, we support over 109,000 jobs, contribute nearly 7 billion to the economy, and pay 4 billion in taxes each year. But behind those numbers are real people and real communities, skilled professionals across the UK, many of whom visit Gibraltar as part of their work. They are the ones helping to deliver an industry that is innovative, competitive, and responsible. And that's why fiscal stability is so important. Any increase in betting or gaming duty would not just affect profits, it would threaten jobs, reduce investment, and risk pushing customers towards the black market. The consequences would be felt not only across the UK, but in Gibraltar, where so many businesses form part of this shared ecosystem. And we've seen a clear example of the warnings from our industry over the last number of days, from Paddy Power to William Hill to Betfred at the weekend. We have had, and I can say this in confidence, research conducted by EY. And if you are looking at the IPPR proposals and those supported by Gordon Brown, it would be catastrophic for the betting and gaming industry. You were talking about not just Fred's closing, but up to 30,000 job losses right across the UK. So this is serious, and it's massively important that we and the Government of Gibraltar work together to make those points to the government. So we're grateful to Minister Feetham for his constructive way he engages with the Treasury on behalf of all operators, making the case for proportionate, evidence-based policy that supports growth, maintaining the high standards of regulation. Our members are proud of the standards they uphold, whether it's championing safer gambling, investing in technology and compliance, or working with regulators to protect consumers. This is a sector that leads by example. And gatherings like this remind us just how important collaboration is between governments, regulators, and industry to ensure that Gibraltar and the UK remain global leaders in safe, responsible, and world-class betting and gaming. So thank you all for joining us this morning, for your continued partnership and support. The relationship between Gibraltar and the UK is built on mutual trust and shared ambition. And I know that that spirit will continue to define our work in the years ahead. And I believe it's now my pleasure to hand over to Minister Feetham.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. It is both a pleasure and a privilege to be here today. I am the Minister for Justice, Trade and Industry in Gibraltar, with ministerial responsibility for taxation, for financial services, and indeed for gaming. It is a rare occasion where you find in the same event a former Chief Minister of Gibraltar, a four-time Chief Minister of Gibraltar, who is here today, Peter Caruana, a former Deputy Chief Minister, and indeed a former Minister for Financial Services and Gaming. And it is right that they should be here today, both as leading professionals in their field and having advised the Government of Gibraltar through the careful drafting pen of Sir Peter Caruana in the forthcoming gambling bill before the Gibraltar Parliament. And I am pleased to say that I intend to take the bill to Parliament at the first available opportunity. And I also expect the bill to have cross-party support. And it is right for a bill of this nature to have the support, the unanimous support of Parliament, given the importance that the gaming sector has in Gibraltar. 30% of our GDP is attributable to the gaming sector alone, 3,400 jobs, and over 50% of all corporate tax receipts. Gibraltar gaming companies also contribute in excess of £750 million to the UK Exchequer. The previous speaker, representing the Gaming and Betting Association, has rightly issued a note of caution in terms of the proposed increases in betting and gaming duty in the United Kingdom. We believe and share the concern that any significant increases in gaming and betting duty will not only have an impact in the United Kingdom, as we have seen from public statements over the last few weeks, but indeed could adversely impact the Gibraltar gaming sector, and in particular our own government tax revenues. We understand that all countries around the world are facing the same budgetary pressures, namely an increase in public sector costs and demand for public sector costs, and a decrease in government revenues. When we were re-elected into office 2 years ago, the Chief Minister asked me to devise a national tax strategy in Gibraltar. And through careful execution of that tax strategy, when the financial year ended on the 31st of March this year, we recorded record tax revenues, the highest levels of tax revenues in our history, the likes of which we had never seen before. And we did it not by increasing the rates of personal taxes. On the contrary, we decreased personal tax rates by 2%, and we started the tax year with £18 million less of tax revenues. So we appreciate the demands on the public exchequer, but we must also be mindful. I can tell you that if I have had sleepless nights over the last 2 years, was precisely in the area of fiscal policy. Few people within the public understand taxation. Fewer still will give you credit for increased tax revenues, but boy, do you get a lot of criticism if you get it wrong. And I'm obsessed with the Laffer curve. I'm sure for those of you who have heard of Arthur Laffer, he articulated the curve and the impact of tax rates and tax measures on tax revenues. He was an economist in the 1970s. He wasn't the first one to articulate that theory. Indeed, it was first articulated by an Islamic scholar in the 14th century, Ibn Khaldun, who said at the beginning of the empire, the tax rates were low, the tax revenues were high. Towards the end of the empire, the tax revenues were low because the tax rates were high. So therefore, mindful of this, I can tell you that the levels of tax revenues that we are currently seeing coming through in our current financial year point towards us being able to surpass the tax receipts that we had last year, record as those were. Also, can I say that Gibraltar is on the verge of a historical and unprecedented treaty with the European Union that will allow access to Schengen and provide much needed stability, including for the gaming sector, and that there is a categorical commitment on the part of the Gibraltar government not to introduce VAT, because we are not acknowledge how important this is to this sector. So ladies and gentlemen, thank you for being here, and I look forward to engaging with you today, here, and also for those of you that are coming to the lunch later on. So thank you very much indeed.
Stephen, we heard you put your case for the industry to the Treasury Committee yesterday as to the impact a rise in the taxes will have, but there didn't seem to be a lot of sympathy among the MPs there. Do you think your voice is being listened to?
Yes, I do. So it's obviously right that committee members are there to scrutinise and to challenge the evidence before them. But I think we did have a great opportunity yesterday to make the points about what gaming tax increases would mean for jobs, for growth, for investment in the UK, and of course, crucially, in Gibraltar. It's not always that we have the opportunity at a forum like the Treasury Committee to make that case. So I'm really pleased that we have had that opportunity yesterday. And I think the message is being heard. And it's not just at the committee, it's elsewhere as well. So that was just one part of a much longer process of engagement from various people, whether that's the Betting and Gaming Council, the Gibraltar Betting and Gaming Association, or the government of Gibraltar. So I know that Minister Feetham, for example, has been working closely with ministers and officials in the UK, in the Treasury, to make sure that the message is heard. And I think it is being heard.